We want to wish all mothers a happy Mother's Day. Mamas are very important to many of us, hopefully all of us. I know especially important to me. I love women. I always have loved women. All my life I loved women. I was raised in a house full of women. I was surrounded by them. Didn't have a brother till I was grown. Then I had one. But all I ever knew was girls. My sisters would bring home a lot of girls, and I had a good childhood. It was fun. But I was taught as a boy to respect women. Always respect them, no matter if I knew them or not. I was never allowed to call a woman by her name. It was always Miss So-and-so or Aunt So-and-so, but never, ever, never by her name. I slipped one time at the bowling alley and called a woman. Her name was Wilma. Everybody called her Wilma, so I called her Wilma, and Daddy whooped me right there. I was a pretty big boy. But you don't call a woman by her name. Respect women. If I was on a bus and there was a girl standing and I was sitting, I was expected to give up and give her my seat, and I did. That's what you're supposed to do. Women are, to me, better than men. And it's the responsibility of a man to look out for women, not because they're so helpless, but because they're better. And I'd like to talk a little bit about mothers from God's point of view today. Milton Berle, he's used to be a comic years ago, but he asked the question, if evolution really works, how come mothers only have two hands? Didn't make much sense to him. Or to have 6, maybe 8 by now. BR found a cartoon I think expresses his meaning. Mom, we've hired a few people to fill in for you while you relax on Mother's Day. And you got a soothsayer there, you got a school teacher, you got somebody that plays with them, looks like Bozo. You got a nurse, a chef, a spiritual guide, you've got the taxi, you've got the maid. And when you stop and think about it, Mom wears a lot of hats. Skilled hats, professionals, professional work. Does a lot of different jobs in her life as a wife and a mother. And it's true. And mothers are deserving of our praise. The excellent mother is discussed in Proverbs chapter 31. And I'd like to take a look at that with you today. Whenever I begin a lesson, something like mother or anything, hate, love, kindness, whatever the word is, I always sit down at my desk and I let the first word that pops into my mind, that's the one that usually guides me. And when I thought about mother, of course, I was thinking about my mother, and I was thinking about my children's mother. I've lived with a mother all but 2 years of my life. So as I thought about these two mothers, the word that popped in my head was the word commitment. When you think about a mother, you can think about commitment, because that's what's involved in being a mother. BR now, we was talking about this yesterday. I thought about it for the last couple of weeks. And I think I'm kind of like, I don't remember if it was Plato or Socrates that said it, but one of them said, I think to God's daily that I was born neither a slave nor a woman. Well, I don't think God's, but I do thank God that I wasn't born a woman. Not from his point of view, but in all honesty, and I'm not trying to make women feel good, in all honesty, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I've ever had that much energy. When I think about what my mama and what BR has done for their children, for their families, I wouldn't have done it. There are times when I've seen them jump up and go tend to something. I would have let it wait till the next day. I wasn't worried about it. I would think about some of the things they did, and I got tired just thinking about And I thought, man, I'm glad I wasn't a woman. Not because I don't think women are any count. I just don't think I'm up to it. I don't have that much strength about me. When I think about the excellent mother, I think about the word commitment. And if you go home and you read Proverbs 31, I think you'll see the word commitment in every phrase, even though it doesn't appear, you will see commitment. The excellent mother is committed wife, mother, Christian, neighbor, friend. And you can go on and on and on and on and on. That's the excellent mother. Now, all mothers are not excellent, okay? And we know that. And I'm sorry. I was raised by a mother who dearly, dearly loved me. And I know it. And my children were raised by a mother very similar to my own. I've been very fortunate to be around such people. But all people aren't that fortunate. And it breaks my heart that that's the case. Because I think one of the greatest experiences I've ever enjoyed in life is my association with these two mothers. The word committed and the word love, from a biblical point of view, are very closely related, I think. The word love in the Greek is agape or agapao. This is the word that appears most of the time. There's actually 5 Greek terms that's translated love. There's 2 in the Bible translated love. But the word that's used most often is the word agape. It's a love of the will. In other words, specifically the will to do good. Okay? When you talk about love, most of the time what it's talking about in the Bible, when it says you are to love, what it's saying is, I choose to do good. That's the love under consideration. It's a decision I've made that I'm going to do good to someone. There's a charge our Lord gave us one time, and to be honest with you, back years ago, I couldn't have ever kept that charge. It was more than I could do. Let me show you what it is. You'll know it. Matthew 5:44, love your enemies. I couldn't do that. I knew I couldn't do that. Because I didn't love my enemies. Most of the time, years ago, I would prefer to punch them in the nose. Love them? That wasn't going to happen. I knew that wasn't going to happen. And yet this is what I'm being commanded to do. How does a person love their enemy? Well, if you understand exactly what Jesus meant, then you could do this, okay? Love your enemies. What do you mean, Lord? Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you. Well, I could do that. Somebody who's an enemy, I don't want to be around them. I don't want to hang out with them. I don't want to visit them. And I don't want them visiting me. I don't want to fool with them. They're the enemy. But if they're down and out, and they have got to have $5 to buy food for a starving family of theirs, I can do that. I can do good to that person, even though they're an enemy. And this is what the Lord is telling us to do. Love your enemy. If your enemy needs your help him. Don't turn your nose up at him. I choose to do good to my enemy, and I bless those who curse me, and I'll do good to those who hate me. Yeah, I can live with love when that's what it means, but why? Why are we to do that? Well, that you may be the sons of your Father in heaven, because this is the way He does. He makes His sun rise on the evil and good. He does good to His enemies. God's got more enemies than anybody. And He knows His enemies. He knows who they are. I mean, He won't talk to them. He doesn't listen to them. He doesn't fool with them. But He does bless them by letting them share in His sun, by letting them share in the rain, And the Lord is saying, God blesses his enemies. He loves them. He blesses them. I want you to do the same thing. And in doing so, you're going to be like God. So we can love our enemies when we understand the meaning of the word love. It's very closely tied to the word committed. I'm committed to do good to those who would harm me and those who hate me. The excellent mother wills to succeed. The top priority, of course, is to get her family everlasting life, because that's why we're here, right? That's what people who love their families do. We want to give our families the best we got. We try to give them the toys within a reasonable frame. We try to provide a life that they're going to enjoy. But more than anything, I want my children to go to heaven. And I know their mama does. I don't want to go to heaven and look around and not see my children. That would be terrible. I can't think of anything that would be worse than that. Is to go to heaven without my children. So the excellent mother invests herself, commits herself to the raising of her children in such a way that her children will know eternal life, because that's chief among everything else. In Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31, the excellent wife is discussed, but the first few verses are an introduction, and I'd like to look at them before we begin. Verse 1, the words of King Lemuel, the utterance which his mother taught him. Most expositors believe Lemuel is a pen name that Solomon used for many of his writings. In other words, this proverb is the proverb of Solomon. True or not, I don't know. But that is the conclusion that most expositors have come to. But you'll notice what he's recording. It's the utterance or the oracle that his mother taught him. If it's Solomon, of course, that would be the words of Bathsheba. The words of a mother to a son about the kind of wife he ought to be looking for, the kind of wife he ought to hope for. And if there's anybody on earth that needed such instruction, it was Solomon, because he was the biggest goof up there was. Nobody made more mistakes than the wisest man that lived. She starts, what, my son? And what, son of my womb? And what, son of my vows? He's a failure, and she knows it. And it's killing her. He's done everything wrong, the wrong way. And she's going to discuss the right way, what the excellent wife is. And he needed this instruction because Solomon wasn't doing well in that department. She said, do not give your strength to women. And this is exactly what he had done. In 1 Kings 11:3, we're told he had 700 wives, 300 concubines, 1,000 women in his harem. If he started with number one tonight, it would be over 3 years before he could get back to number one if he went to a different wife every night. What does any man need with 1,000 women? That's what Solomon had. And his mother, it appears, if that's who this is troubled by that. His choices haven't been that good. And there is the excellent woman out there somewhere. And this is what should have been in the king's mind. We're told that these wives led him away from God. His wives led him to become worshipers of idols and things of that nature. In verse 10, we actually begin in a discussion of an excellent wife with a question. Who can find? They're not plentiful. Okay, this is the meaning of it. They lived at a time, if it was Solomon, they lived at a time when morality was declining rapidly. It had been declining for some time. And immorality was reigning in that day, much like it does in our own day today. And the idea that's being put across is that when a man seeks to take him a wife, he needs to consider carefully who she is. Is this really what you want? He's got 1,000 strikeouts. You've got to know up front what it is to look for. It's said that all the princes from that time forward were to use this outline of the excellent woman as a checklist to go by when they were considering a wife. Characteristics and qualities that they ought to look for and see if the woman possessed them. The word excellent, of course, is the curious word. What exactly does that mean? Well, the meaning from the Hebrew word has to do with moral goodness, propriety, fine manners, and culture. You're looking for a woman with dignity, okay? A woman who is dignified. This is the excellent woman. A woman who has morals about her. A woman who knows commitment and is not afraid to commit. It's all involved in this idea of the excellent wife that's so difficult to find at that time. Far more precious than jewels. And of course she would be, because if you don't get an excellent wife, you're going to live in a type of hell while you are on earth. Solomon said it is better to live in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome woman. In Proverbs 27 he says, a continual dripping on a rainy day and a quarrelsome wife. Boy, they got a lot alike. Irritating. Absolutely irritating. To restrain her is to restrain the wind. To grasp oil in one's right hand. Grasping oil. Do you ever try to hold on to oil? Do you ever try to tie the wind? That's what it's like when you try to restrain such a woman. And the men were taught to be careful what they were looking for in a woman. She is far more precious than jewels. The excellent wife, we're going to talk about her as mother because this is Mother's Day. And this woman that we're discussing is, after all, a mother. She dresses herself with strength, verse 17. She makes her arms strong. I'm just going to go over the various qualities that were given about this woman. Verse 25, strength and dignity are her clothing. She's a strong woman. She has a will about her. She's not afraid of commitment. She's not afraid to make a resolution. She's got strength and character, morally courageous. She is much a woman, we might say, and she wears that strength housed in dignity, in a dignified way. She's a woman that stands out because she's a woman who is in control of her life, and not only her life, but the lives of her family. She opens her mouth and wisdom comes out. She's a learned woman. She pays attention. She learns the best choices. She learns and understands the right and preferred ways. She's blessed with wisdom, which is received from God. Therefore, she's a godly woman. The teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She's not mean. She's not brutal. She's not brutish. Instead, she's kind when she talks to people. She's gentle. She's easily approached. And she's looking for the best answer put across in the best possible way. This is the excellent mother and the excellent wife. She rises while it is still night. She rises before the sun comes up, and her lamp doesn't go out at night. She's the first one up, and she's the last one to bed. She's not lazy. She's a laborious woman. She puts in long days, no doubt, in defending, supporting her own family. She looks well to the ways of her household. That's her priority. That's what she's focused on, is the success of her family. Her family's success is her success. Her family's achievements are her achievements. There's nothing greater that she can do in this life than to produce a family that is everything God wants the family to be. She does not eat the bread of idleness. She's not a lazy woman. She's not given to laying around all day. But to the contrary, she's very industrious, as we'll see. She's not afraid of snow for her household. And the reason for all her household is clothed in scarlet. She's not afraid of cold weather sneaking in on her because she's got her clothing ready for her family. She's prepared. It's not time for snow, but it doesn't matter. She's prepared for snow. And should it come, she's ready. And her family will go out of the house warm and clothed in a good and decent manner. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. This is something that's a little difficult for us to understand. But one of the things I've noticed over in the Far East is that most of the time, the women not only cook the bacon, they're the ones that go out and make it. They labor sometimes even more than their husbands. In India, for example, a man can have 4 wives. And I've seen a man lay up under a shade tree and 4 wives out there packing cement on the top of their heads. And they would get paid $2 a day, which meant he got $8 a day at the end of the day for their labor. They were the ones that labored. And this was the case of the excellent woman. She was a woman who also labored. Not because her husband was lazy, but because her husband was tied up in public affairs. He appears to be a public official. And his responsibility was securing the community in which he lived. And because he was tied up tending to those matters, she went out and made money. And did it in a variety of ways. Here's some of the things she did. Verse 13, she seeks wool and flax and works with willing hands. She not only goes out and seeks the raw material, she brings it home and she makes the clothing. She even puts her hand to the distaff and her hands hold the spindle. My understanding of this type of work is that as they're spinning their wool, they've got 2 hands, but those hands are doing 4 different things. You got a finger over here doing this, a thumb over here doing that, and the hands are busy. All this is going on. This is a very skilled type of labor. Verse 19. She's a skilled laborer, qualified to go out and buy the raw material, qualified to make the garments, and skilled enough to do the most challenging work in the operation of this industry. In verse 16, she considers the field, and she buys the field. And she buys the field with the fruit of her hands. This is the money she has previously made and put away. She takes that money and she goes out, finds a field that she wants, and she purchases it with the fruit of her hands, and then she plants a vineyard. And then she makes linen garments, and she sells them, and she delivers sashes to the merchants. Look what this woman does. From buying the field, to planting the vineyard, to making the garment, to selling the garment, to delivering the garment. She is a one-person factory. She does it all. From the first step to the final step. She's a very industrious person, very qualified to do the things she does. She is an excellent woman. She does him good, her husband, and not harm, all the days of her life. She takes care of him and does a very good job in the process. Her husband is known in the gates when he sits among the elders of the land. He's known probably because of his skills as a leader of men, but I'm sure he's also known because of the popularity his wife would receive because of her generous nature, her good heart, her giving heart. She gave to the poor because of her ability to be so industrious and turn profit. She was probably known to everybody in the village, and her husband would sit in the gate. This is where all the legal transactions took place, was in the gate of the city. He would sit there as a leader of the people, and all the elders of the land, they knew him, and not only him, but his wife as well. Charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain. This is a mistake that's made quite frequently, really. Go by looks. Judge people by the wrong thing. And sometimes you look and you think you know what you're seeing, and what you're really getting may not be that at all. On the outside, it may look like that, but then on the inside, it may look like this. You see, charm is deceitful, and beauty is vain. It's not the outward appearance that is of such importance. It's that person that lives on the inside. That's the good part. That's the part relationships are made of. That's the part that you fall in love with. When a person is an excellent woman on the inside. Believe it or not, that's Popeye's mother. She sells her picture under that heading. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. That's the greatest quality of all. And that's one of the qualities of the excellent wife and mother. She's an excellent mother. And when you think of mother, you think of love. Unsurpassed love, unconditional love, an anchor for the soul. This December, my mother will have been dead for 24 years. It seems like about a month ago. You know, you never get over your mama. I don't know that any of us does. I remember Farland talking about his mama one night. He was sick in the bed as a child, and his mama was tending to him. And when he got to talking about that, he couldn't talk. He started crying as he was thinking about back on his mama caring for him. I don't know exactly what it is about mamas, but there's something about mama, maybe perhaps mostly to a son. I don't know. I'm a son, and I look at it from that vantage point. But your mama never leaves you. My mama, she still fusses on me today. In a lot of ways, we won't go into all that. She still fusses. Mothers are very important. Those of you who have mothers still alive, you should be good to your mama. I was good to my mama. I really was. I loved her like crazy. Still do. And I was as good to her as I could be in my own way. You ought to love your mama, appreciate her, because she loves you more than anybody in the world will ever be able to love you. A wife will love you, but not like your mama. She can't. There's no defect in her because they're different. I'll give you an example. When I got married, Mama showed BR how to fold my socks. She said, if you don't fold them this way, he'll put them on inside out. B.R. said if he ain't got no more sense to wear his socks inside out, that's his problem. That's the difference between your mom and your wife. Mama would never have let me put my socks on inside out. There's something different about a mother's love. I don't know what it is. But I know you want to take advantage of it as long as you got it. Tell her you love her whenever you can. Be good to her all the time. Love your mother, because she loves you in a way that nobody else possibly can. And I hope all you mothers have a great Mother's Day. If anybody here today that needs the forgiveness of God, if you need to become a Christian, or if you need God's forgiveness and the prayers of the saints, we hope you'll come while we